Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again, here with part 10 of my reaction to the Two Wheels Collide podcast. Mr. Sam Bamford, the host, interviewing former Special Forces operator Scott Jones and talking about the truth about Ben Roberts-Smith. So let's jump back in.
You know what I mean? The witnesses are shit cunts. They're not good people. They're not good soldiers. They never were. Piss off.
I love that. That's a great description. The witnesses are SHITCUNTs. They're not good people. They're not good soldiers. Piss off. Well said, Scott Jones.
Not credible. The people that are saying RS was just out there murdering innocent civilians is just not true. Because, yes, they were civilians. All the Taliban are civilians. But they were certainly...
Again, another great point. The Taliban are all made up of the civilian population. They are not a recognized military force. They are a recognized terrorist organization who use basically the ground, the landscape, the environment, their own people to their advantage in guerrilla warfare, asymmetrical type warfare to try to achieve their objectives. And they've been very successful at it. So, yeah, they are definitely not innocent civilians.
Not innocent. And that's pretty important. Whatever happened, and that will play out in court, I'd imagine. And it's not my fight. It's up to all these SF influencers, especially if you're SAS. Why are you so quiet right now? Yeah, maybe you're selling something. You're selling a CrossFit program or a service or a supplement or a book or something, and you would rather do that than actually join the fight and actually stick up for one of your bros. But yeah, a lot of people.
That's interesting, eh? And I would imagine what Scott Jones has just said there, that's interesting in terms of, it's made me think about that, not from a personal perspective, because, unfortunately for me, I wasn't there on the ground. I wasn't there in Afghanistan with the boys, and that's probably one of the things that, that I blink and through my own having a poor attitude during the course that I refused to do. That's why I ended up not going there. But interesting in terms of what Scott Jones is talking about. Ex-SF operators from the Australian Regiment that were there in Afghanistan, and in particular, if you were there around that time, the only reasons that I can think of in terms of why they are probably not saying anything is because A, they want to let it run its course, potentially, and B, they may have had to have signed an NDA like what Scott Jones has had to do. Like, obviously, he's talking a fair bit about a lot of stuff, but he must be well within the constraints of what he can and can't talk about based on the deeds of service or something, I think Scott Jones called it, but basically an NDA. So those are the only real reasons why I would imagine operators that were in the unit at the same time during that 2009 to 2012 period when these war crime allegations are alleged to have taken place. That's the only reasons that I can think of as in terms of why guys aren't speaking specifically, especially guys that were there with RS. Now, there is a guy that was there on the ground, Hamish McLaughlin, ex-Kiwi SAS guy, went over to join the Australian Regiment. I believe he's done a podcast on the Zero Limits podcast with Matty Morris, and I still haven't heard that one yet. So apparently he talks a bit about some of the stuff that happened that went on from his perspective. And from what I understand, without having heard it, it sounds like he has nothing but good things to say about RS and their actions and their conduct of what they did overseas. So, be worth a listen for people, including myself, but it's one of those things that I need to get to. As far as, Scott Jones, it has made me wonder, but then I have quickly sort of thought, maybe they've had to sign NDAs and not coming out. But I guess it's all well and good for me to come out and say stuff because I wasn't there on the ground with them. Would I guess if I was out of the regiment and not serving in there anymore and I had stuff to say, personally, I feel like I would come out and say it. But anyway, and I base that on the fact that I'm coming out and saying what it is that I feel like saying now based on the information that I either watch and listen to like this, and or that I read in terms of the articles and stuff that I get sent. But anyway.
People were brave on the stand testifying against RS, but very few were brave in combat.
I think they'll find it's a bit different these days in regards to, definitely brave in coming out and speaking out against him, not brave in combat. But I think the narrative is shifted. There's a lot more appetite out there now to stand behind Ben.
Yeah.
A lot more appetite out there now.
Yeah.
Your average Aussie is not liking the way the country is heading. And
I certainly hope that's the case. I see a lot of the same regular types of people like Sam Bamford, like Big Chocky, like a number of people that follow me. There are some other people out there that have created Facebook pages as well saying that they stand with BRS, and they seem to have quite a significant following, which is great. But obviously, understanding that you're not going to convince everybody, and some of those that have been, dare I say, brainwashed by mainstream media have already come to the conclusion that RS is guilty. Oliver Schultz is guilty without having gone to a trial or anything like that, without having been convicted of anything. And so you're always going to get some retards that you just can't get through. But I hope that what Sam Bamford is saying is true in regards to RS, but I also hope that it's true in regards to Australia having had enough of this blinking Labor government, and Dumbanese in particular, and the other corrupt blinking people that make up that government and the Labor government at the moment in Australia.
We are not liking the way the attack on is happening on our veteran community, even Heston Russell.
Shout out to Hesto. Great guy.
Editing 8 extra gunshots into his footage by the ABC. Like, this is now starting to come to surface. It's like, okay, so there is a clear attack on our veteran community.
Yep.
Why are you coming after our veteran community?
Yeah.
It seems to me all a bit coordinated, doesn't it?
And they've given...
You would think that the government would have stepped in there with regards to the ABC and what they did, or whether it was ABC or whoever, in terms of those edited gunshots into that footage. Surely the government has the power to step in, defund. Maybe if you're not going to defund the whole thing, defund aspects of it, slap them with a fine. There should be something, but there seems like there's been absolutely nothing happen as a result of it. Oh, oops, an editing error, I think is what they said in that documentary where Heston Russell's been talking about it and showing an actual journalist, I forget who it was, the footage whereby that mainstream media organisation, Channel 7 or Channel 9, whichever one of those two twats it was, doctoring and editing in extra gunshots. Just crazy.
Given him, I know, $400,000 for clearly lying about his allegations in Afghanistan, yet $1,000 for...
It seems to me all a bit coordinated, doesn't it?
And they've given him, I know, $400,000 for clearly lying about his allegations in Afghanistan.
That's not enough. They should have given him $4 million. Lincoln, that media organisation should have been stung for $4 million. Not that they would care either way, because it's taxpayers' money, and they obviously don't care what they do with it.
Yet, I don't think they've come out and said sorry.
No, they just said it was an editing error.
Yeah.
Okay, like I'm telling you right now, I edit every single day. That's a big editing error.
Yeah.
That's like, you can't happen.
Whoops.
I'm sorry, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's a valid point. That only happens if you intentionally want to add in extra shots. I mean, coming back to the payout that Heston Russell got, whether it's 400,000 or whatever, I still don't think it's enough. I mean, during RS's defamation case, a media organisation paid $700,000 in hush money alone. So again, hence why I say Hesto should have got $4 million. How do you put a price tag on the strain and stress that puts on not only him as the individual, the platoon of people that he was leading, that he was fighting for, his family, his parents, the families of those soldiers that he was fighting for? Like, how do you come up with an arbitrary number like, oh, yep, 400,000, that should cover it? No, like that, to me, that's not enough. Like, there should be compensation given to those family members, the health and well-being of not only Heston Russell's parents, which you heard him speak about in some of those as he opens up in and around what that whole process was like. The fact that the ADF gave no support, no advice, no lawyers, just absolute rubbish. Yet you pay $700,000 in hush money and give $400,000 to somebody who proves their case, who proves that they were defamed and that their platoon was defamed by the conniving, manipulative tactics of mainstream media, and they just get a $400,000 payout. It's just corruption, ridiculous, and the government steps in and does nothing as well. It's just crazy to me.
You did that on purpose.
And those guys are still under scrutiny. So one of Hesto's platoon members, got his house raided a couple of weeks ago, and they're still copping it. So you think Hesto's one, Hesto's cleared the platoon's name. He's done an honourable thing by taking the fight to the ABC and winning. You think it's all over? And if you've got mental health issues from 10 years ago when you served in Afghanistan and the things you saw, and you're just a dad now, you're trying to get over it. You're working or not working, whatever you're doing, you try to move on with your life. And they come and raid your house. And they want you to talk to them. And by now, we've got good legal advice.
And so how do you come up with the figure, a number? I know that that's to Heston Russell, that money, but far out. The fact that they're still going after guys from that platoon that have already been cleared through Heston Russell's work is crazy. So I hope those guys are able to bring a legal case against these investigators and get some sort of compensation as well. It's just bloody disgraceful is the word.
And we say, no comment. Take what you want. We don't care.
I do not recall.
Well, I'm not even gonna. They know my name, you know.
It'd be like that blinking Andrew Wastebag. That's where he's at the moment, isn't he? With his defamation case that's been brought against him for secretly handing off a privately recorded conversation. And again, that twat using, I think it's in the public interest. Does that guy not know how to use the chain of command? Does he just have no idea? You served as a blinking Rupert, or call you a Muppet in the military, in the ADF, an officer, aka Rupert, aka Muppet. That's what you served as. There's a hierarchy and a chain of command and process. What would you have done if somebody bypassed that in your team and went straight, circumvented that whole system that's in place from a military perspective and go straight to the media? Even in politics, I would assume there's a chain of command. If you felt that there was something about to be done that was wrong or corrupt or needs to be held to account, surely there's a framework and a structure in the government that you go through and you escalate those things and or you hold the other party to account or whatever the case is. Surely it's not a case of just leak everything that you think is in the public interest to the media, especially if they're just allegations. It's just nuts to me. But anyway, I could go on Blink and just do a whole episode. Actually, I probably will later.
You know my name. If you want to take me to jail, take me to jail. But we've learnt now the hard way of good legal advice. And through all of this...
Sorry, that's what I was supposed to say in terms of my rant before I blinked and got sidetracked and talking about Hasty. It is to do with Hasty. It's interesting to me that how he can't recall in regards to the defamation case that he's facing, handing things on and that sort of thing. And he can't recall the promises that he made to the person who gave him the tape with the promise that he agreed to not pass it on to anyone. And then he says he doesn't recall making that sort of promise. But how he can recall details of conversations of alleged war crimes that he never witnessed, that he never saw, is just, again, trucking ridiculous. It gives you a bit of an insight, Australia, in terms of what Wankstain Wasty is like, and how if you choose to trust him, if Angus Taylor chooses to keep him in the Liberal Party, if the Liberal Party members choose to support him in a bid, because he's going to want to try to take the leadership role, because that conniving little treacherous twat wants nothing more than to be the Prime Minister of Australia, and all he's in it for is just himself. There is not an inkling of him wanting to look out for the Australian people. He's just looking out for himself, number one, trying to make himself look good. But Australia, if you vote for him, Liberals, if you vote for him, Lincoln, you reap what you sow, eh?
No psychologist or psychiatrist or Reiki or whatever, Buddhism, whatever you want to say is going to help you. The only thing that's going to help you is having a good lawyer. And the defense lawyers that they give you when you're told to go and sit down and look at these photos of dead people, the defense lawyers, a lot of them are reservists. And in their full-time job as a lawyer in Civilian Street, I found out in my case, his specialty isn't murder investigations. He does wills and family law court.
So they're getting the best of the best to defend
Best of the best. And you...
That's crazy, right? You've got soldiers facing war crime allegations, which is a life sentence, and your ADF, the Australian Defence Force, sends you a lawyer who deals with wills and family law. So they couldn't even send you, they don't even provide for you. They haven't even provided these guys with at least a criminal lawyer. You might as well have sent them a blinking contracts lawyer, might as well have sent them somebody from HR for another company. A lot of HR people typically have a law degree. This is crazy to me. Send them a property lawyer. How is it that the ADF could be treating their soldiers, former soldiers and or current soldiers, with such disrespect, with such disrespect to the guys that have gone and girls that have gone and served and have done their best in the service of their mates, of their country, their family members, their loved ones, etc., and then come back and to be treated like this. It does make me question now. I'm stoked that my third son, who had been applying to the Australian Defence Force, I'm stoked that they took so long for him to be able to get an acknowledgement or that he could go in there. He's on basic training right now in the New Zealand Defence Force, which is good because they drag their heels over there. I'm glad that he's not there in the Australian Defence Force. Disgusting and disrespectful are the words that come to mind for me in terms of what Scott Jones is just talking about. Far out. Couldn't even give the soldiers a criminal law lawyer. You give them somebody who deals with wills and some family law stuff.
And I always assume that if there's ever anything wrongdoing or investigations, you're going to get a good when you're told to go and sit down and look at these photos of dead people. The defense lawyers, a lot of them are reservists. And in their full-time job as a lawyer in Civilian Street, I found out in my case, his specialty isn't murder investigations. He does wills and family law court.
So they're getting the best of the best to defend
best of the best. And I always assume that if there's ever anything wrongdoing or investigations, you're going to get a good defense lawyer to come and help you.
Clearly not.
I met my lawyer appointed by defense one time and I said, hooroo, mate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go. And so dudes have lost their house deposits over this. Dudes have lost.
That's crazy. So Scott Jones likely would have forked out money for his own lawyer. I'm assuming. I don't know. Or maybe he fought or somehow challenged the ADF system to get a proper lawyer or a lawyer fit for purpose is what I should say. I shouldn't say proper lawyer. Like that other lawyer, obviously he's a lawyer, qualified, but he deals with wills and family law stuff. He doesn't deal with war crime allegations or by the sounds of things, doesn't deal with criminal law. And so good on Scott Jones for saying Turu. And I assume he probably got somebody himself. I'd love to know. I'd love to ask Scott Jones if he actually ended up paying for his own lawyer or whether he challenged and said, get me a lawyer that at least deals with criminal law or one that is more qualified and suited to this type of work than old mate who deals with wills and probably power of attorney and all that sort of stuff, which is thinking like night and day.
Their houses. Dudes have sold properties to fund their legal advice to make sure that they're covered.
Far out. Well, there you go. He's just spoken about it. I don't know if that's what Scott Jones has done, but guys, how poor is that? How disrespectful is that to the soldiers? Yeah, yet we provided you a lawyer. Oh, you don't want that lawyer? Oh, well, like if you're I can just see the ADF now. Oh, well, if you're rejecting the lawyer that we're providing for you, well, then you're going to have to fund it yourself. That's rubbish. There must be so many stories of soldiers that have been so poorly treated. It makes you wonder. It makes me question, anybody looking to go and serve in the Australian Defence Force. If that's how you could expect to be treated if you go to war for however many years fighting day in, day out, rotation after rotation, and then nothing. Essentially, that's what it feels like to me for these guys. They just get no support, no nothing. Yeah, it's disgusting.
And they're still going through it to this day. Defence aren't helping. The OSI are cooperating with Defence, with the AFP, and allegedly with the journalists to continue this fight against these dudes that would have gladly laid down their life for this country. And a lot of them did. Your cousin's right there, like his photo. He laid down his life for this country. And if he was still here, he probably would have got his house raided by now, right? 400 dudes. There's not that many dudes in the regiment. And, vibes are off.
And no one from the top brass seems to be getting done for this.
Nah.
Why isn't?
None of the top brass are having their homes raided. None of them are being pulled in for questioning. I could probably almost guarantee that none of them would be treated the same way as non-commissioned officers, as these non-commissioned officers have been treated. Not allowed any legal representation or advice, no support person, just sat in a room and exposed for hours on end and grilled and interrogated, yelled at, made to feel like they are criminals during that whole process. Based on what I've heard Scott Jones describe, it sounds really, really poor. And again, the government not stepping in to investigate what has been done, how those investigations and interviews have been conducted. Again, it's just another example of how spineless and weak the government is. They'll distance themselves and go, oh, that's outside of our domain, that's their area, and if it does X, Y, Z, then we step in. It's just, yeah, it's not right. You've got a government and a prime minister that just has no backbone and doesn't have the strength to be able to stand up and do what's right. He's too busy lying in his own pockets and supporting the foreigners that come into Australia. It's mad, man.
Angus Campbell.
Yeah, well, you know, who wrote the policy?
Anus Campbell.
ROE 429 Alpha, who told us as an organisation we're allowed to shoot unarmed people at all times. Questionable.
So even going back off that,
Yeah.
if that's the ROE, rules of engagement for anyone playing at home,
yeah,
that's your doctrine piece of law that you need to read before you go out and fight anyone over in Afghanistan.
Yeah, in a targeting operation, in an offensive term.
For you guys, for special forces.
Correct.
And it says that.
Yeah, it does say that. So there's another individual who's in a little bit of hot water, Oliver Schulz.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about him because, look, is that everything that we want to cover with Ben?
Oh, there's obviously a lot more, but I don't want to. You don't want to. I don't want to contempt of court. You know? I want a fair trial.
Yeah, because everything's going to come out in court. A fair trial. You know what?
I would have loved for. I don't think that he is from memory, but I would have loved for these two guys and for Scott Jones to delve into it more if he was allowed to. Because if there's a lot more, I personally would like to hear it, and I would have gladly kept doing reactions, do another 10 parts. It's going to take me more than 10 parts in terms of reaction to this anyway. But if there's a lot more, I would, I definitely would have sat through and listened to it. But it seems like they're going to switch to Oliver Schulz, which is cool as well. But the fact that there is a lot more based on what Scott Jones is saying and that he doesn't want to, contempt of court, or doesn't want to taint the potential trial because he wants it to be a fair trial. I'd say not to Scott Jones, but just in general to anybody watching or who has listened to these two guys at the chat. It's hard to imagine that there is a fair trial that is about to play out based on the narrative and everything that the media has done, based on these cowards from the regiment that sit in the shadows but say they want the truth to come out but can't even show their face. And there's 3 or 4 people that have received immunity for their parts in these allegations of war crimes. So, again, I've said this in multiple other reactions. They clearly don't want the truth to come out, and they clearly are of low integrity because they don't look to take accountability or ownership for any of their actions. They want to point the finger and lay blame squarely at the feet of RS because they were too truckin' cowardly to do anything about it way back when, if at those times way back when these allegations are true, and they chose to do nothing about it. Nuts.
They arrested him in Sydney because it's in Sydney. There's a base of 7% Muslim people over there. In Queensland, there's a base of 1.3% Muslim people over there.
Yeah,
you know the diversity change from Sydney to Brisbane. I wonder why. I wonder why they arrested him in Sydney, not Brisbane. I wonder why after months of Ben Roberts-Smith saying, I will hand myself in, they arrested him in Sydney.
Yeah.
Maybe go look at the diversity.
Alhamdulillah. But
God willing.
And we won't get too much into this one because the murder trial is set for next year, and we don't want to jeopardize the case. That's a throwaway line for a lot of people that just don't want to say anything because they're working as a contractor back to defense, right? But
That's an interesting point. Yeah. Don't want to say anything to prejudice the case. Yeah, because they probably are tied in. But they could also may have had to have signed documents, like I was saying earlier, those that maybe were closer to the action and that sort of thing. and or maybe some guys just are trying to put it behind them and don't want to say anything at all. But, I think it's, if they've got stuff to say and they know that stuff didn't happen, then to me personally, I think you should be coming out and saying stuff. If you're not bound by any sort of NDA or deeds of service document that you had to sign or that you may have had to sign, then I'd like to think that those people would come out and be saying something in defense of RS. Anyway.
What came out in his pre-trial that there's articles on which you can Google, which everyone kind of ignored, is that everyone's seen a video of an Australian SAS soldier shooting a dude in a wheat field, right? I think worldwide, everyone saw it. And the blatant...
People have seen that. I did a paid request reaction to a US Marine as well, doing something similar in a mosque, though. That person was acquitted of that, which you'll see in the upcoming reaction. But I don't know all the details. I did a reaction to that video and also to the article in terms of the Naval, was it Criminal Investigation Service or something like that? The NCIS anyway, for America. And based on this 429 Alpha alone, this ROE for the Australian Special Forces and what they were operating to, the kill capture missions, it seems like there isn't a war crime that's taken place there. When you add to the context of that scene, the ROE that they were working under, and the information that they got as they were going to target, and the information once they were getting onto target, and these guys apparently doing a bomb burst, which was the target group that the lads were going in there for to look to essentially kill or capture. So anyway.
Comment is another innocent civilian shot by Australian soldiers. Well, in the pre-trial, it came out that they were there to kill an objective under ROE 429 Alpha, code name Young Akira. And Young Akira was sitting there having a meeting about who they're going to kill next with three of his mates. So there's 4 dudes sitting in a circle. This is all publicly available. It came out in the pre-trial.
So there's your further context to that. So even when I did my reaction to that, I said, yeah, it looks, and I've shared about it, some time and space. He was asking questions. Probably could have just cable tied him. That was my take. That was my take looking at it from somebody that hasn't been out there on the ground with the guys in Afghanistan. And yeah, so that's how I initially viewed it. Doesn't mean that my initial view is right. This here, Scott Jones is giving more context from the pre-trial, which is publicly available information and knowledge. I haven't gone searching for that. I'll take Scott Jones at his word here. And, if people want to send me stuff that says, well, what Scott Jones said is not true, it's a bunch of lies, look at this, here's the pre-trial information here, well, then send it through. But I don't think doesn't seem like Scott Jones has got any reason to lie about what he's been a part of from this trial with regards to RS and what he knows about Oliver Schultz as well.
The helos start roaring up the valley with a bunch of big dick SAS operators. By the time they're 2 minutes out, we say audible. They're audible to the Taliban. The Taliban start legging it. And this individual in a white dress splits off from his 3 mates. So who do you go after? Do you go after the 3 mates? Or do you go after the one dude by himself?
You go after the one.
Yeah, it's 50-50. And the helo lands. The dog goes and grabs him. They're getting constant updates from everywhere.
And it may not have been that one. Like, they could have been smart enough to go, the 3 of us stay together, and the one that they were actually after may have been in that group of 3. But them knowing the younger person willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good, whatever cause they think they're fighting for, may have been. So there's a whole bunch of different scenarios. 50-50, like Scott Jones said, though.
The 2 Black Hawks are throwing purple smoke grenades at this dude running, tactically bounding through the field's aqueducts to try and hide from the Australian SAS operators who are encroaching on him with a dog called Quake, RRP. Quake.
I'll pause that there. It's about 30 minutes. RIP to Quake. And just, and the work, like the scene that Scott Jones is setting here in regards to what they're going to be talking about in relation to Oliver Schultz. But there's a lot in there, eh? My apologies for pausing this so much. Probably only got through 5 or 6 minutes or whatever from where I'd started this video from. But yeah, there's lots in it, and there's a long way to go in regards to when this trial takes place. I think I read somewhere, I don't think the trial's expected to start in BRS's case until 2029. With any luck, it either happens earlier and or with any luck, Labour's given the arse and One Nation gets in and Pauline Hanson pardons Ben Roberts-Smith and Oliver Schultz. That'd be good as well. But either way, if it doesn't and it goes to trial, I would love to see how and where they prove beyond reasonable doubt that without all the things that they're missing, that RS is guilty of 1, let alone 5 counts of war crime murder. So anyway, thanks very much for sticking around, stopping by. Thank you for your support. If whatever your thoughts and comments are, whack them in the comments below. There are some retards out there that just blink and bang on for ages about a whole bunch of stuff in the comments that seem to have nothing to do with the actual video reaction that I've done itself. But feel free, go for it if you're that way inclined. Otherwise, if you've got a bit more smarts and intelligence, then be great if you chose to put down your comments that were actually in relation to the reaction and or in relation to what it is more specifically that Sam Bamford and Scott Jones have been speaking about. So anyway, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one.